So, you know the sad thing about knowing a lot about field theory? I mean a lot. I really do mean a lot. Is that I can talk about it endlessly for thousands of hours with maybe a little mineral water break in between. German mineral water. Few would care, and even fewer would understand it. The one thing that people don't understand about Tesla said if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy and frequency. You know, back in the days of Tesla, talking about Charles Brodie Steinmetz, Oliver Heaviside, James Clerk Maxwell. Of course, those people did not live concurrently, especially Faraday. They understood fundamentally that understanding electrical theory could only come about by first acknowledging the ether. All the greats of electrical theory, Einstein did not give you any part of today's electrical theory, nor AC, DC motors. Charles Brodie Steinmetz perfected Nikola Tesla's patents on the AC generator. Oliver Heaviside, James Clerk Maxwell. They all understood and they would actually talk about generators churning up the ether. Those are their own words, quote unquote, churning up the ether. The sickness that we have today is atomism. Atomism dates back to the ancient Greeks and who knows before them. Atomism, we were all brainwashed by atomism, which is materialism, in Star Trek movies. You know, everything had a particle answers like gravitons, muons, negative, mesons, bosons. Everything was a particle problem with a particle answer. We're going to stick the anti-graviton deflector on, and we have tachyon time traveling. We have a tachyon pulse. We grew up and spoon-fed on this bullshit in TV shows and movies, and we don't second-guess all these moronic assholes that are tenured professors and everybody writing books on quantum theory, and they come up with the most amazing absurdities that are never the outputs of any experiment ever done. If you actually get to the nitty-gritty, they explain everything vis-a-vis virtual particles, or they'll also call them virtual photons. It's like, how do you explain, even the idiot Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. He had no ability to explain it, because he was an atomist. He also reified the biggest mistake that Einstein made. A lot of mistakes, because he was a dumbass. People say, how could you call Einstein a dumbass? Like, no, you don't listen very carefully, idiot. Tesla himself called Einstein a fuzzy-haired crackpot, which is a nice way of saying dumbass. Einstein reified space as a thing that acted upon other things, like warping space and time. We have a warped space-time. We also grew up on that bullshit, too. Star Trek, Star Wars. Warp space-time, space-time continuum, a hole through space. Space has no properties. It's nothing. It's called reification of a posterior attribute. Reification of a concept. A shadow is not a thing. Time is only a measure of the passing of magnitudes. Time cannot be reified as something. Space, as Tesla himself said in his exact damn words, space has no properties. Something that has no properties is like saying, someone got scared to death by unicorns. Imagine like some mentally ill person, right? And they thought they saw unicorns and they had a heart attack and got scared to death. The ancient Indians actually understood this sort of reification of concept, and it's a really, and I translate ancient Prakrit and Romanized Sanskrit, by the way, including ancient Greek. It's called the rope snake analogy. I dare you to go on Google.com and type in rope snake analogy, or type in rope snake, type in India and rope snake. It's where back in the day, of course, you got bit by a snake, you're going to die. No cure for it. So it's called the rope snake analogy. It was documented back in the ancient days of India that someone would like happen upon a piece of rope in the middle of the dark as they go out, stumble outside to take a crap or take a piss, and they would see a piece of rope thinking it was a snake, and in case you get bit by a snake, you're going to die. So someone would see that rope in the darkness, think it was a snake, get really excited, have a heart attack, and boom, die. So how the hell can you die over something that doesn't exist? The reification of space as something that does something or acts upon other things is a sickness, a concept, a mental construct that has no basis in the reality of Mother Nature. None whatsoever. Space has no properties, quote unquote Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla is correct. The one thing Tesla understood, Oliver Heaviside understood, James Clerk Maxwell understood, Charles Proteus Steinmetz understood, is the ether. All field modalities are ether perturbations. Okay? The reification of things as something quantifiable. A field has never been quantified or explained in itself by any branch of science. Bring me to someone that is a quote-unquote expert in quantum mechanics or field theory. There are none. Ones that call themselves that, and I will destroy them within 30 seconds. Either that or cause them to cuss. Just have them define a field. What's a field? They will try to bring up the four Maxwellian field equations, which never define a field. They only explain the quantification of a field with a vector over a given period of time with resultant effect. But that doesn't define a field. No branch of science, and this is not my opinion, has ever goddamn defined what the hell a damn field is. Never. Ever. In any book ever written. And if you're going to protest this, you better bring me a quote, because I have every book ever written on field theory. I can assure you of that. There are a couple really, really rare ones in the Vatican that I don't have access to. But there's no branch of science ever defined a field. Ever. Ever. Because math and quantification has no basis to either explain or define something that cannot be quantified. This has X mass at a certain elevation. It has a weight. By the way, weight is not a thing. Weight is location specific, vector specific, location specific, because a person weighs 200 pounds on Earth does not weigh 200 pounds, 50 miles out in space. Right about that far, they don't weigh anything. Weight is not a thing. If weight is location specific, vector specific, weight, vector, location, also medium specific. Like a 200-pound person doesn't weigh 200 pounds in the water, do they? No, they weigh differently. Well, what about a 200-pound person in a completely argon atmosphere? They actually, this is a known fact, something weighs differently if you immerse it in a heavy gas field. A heavy gas atmosphere. Its weight changes because it actually has a certain buoyancy. Right? The reification of fields and the understanding of what the ether is, and the fact that Mother Nature does not work off particles. So Nikola Tesla's quote says, quote Nikola Tesla, if you understand the secrets of the universe, you need to think in terms of energy and frequency. Well, what do you think energy is? What about light? By the way, light has never been defined. Light is not a thing that exists, as I've told you before in countless other videos. Light is a concept. What we call light is not light, it's illumination. To speak of light in itself by itself, sans attribute, is absolutely impossible. There's no such thing as light without speaking about what it does. But what does? A wave is not a thing. A wave is what something does. If we can only define something by what it does, then that thing in and of itself cannot be either a noun or said to even exist. What we've done is we've reified an attribute in speaking about a principle. Well, this is light. Yeah, but it's not moving. It's not light. What do you mean? Well, there's no frequency associated with this. That's like the sound of one hand clapping, right? What is the sound of a tree falling in the forest if no one's there to hear it? Not really. Those are bullshit kungans developed by the Chinese and the Japanese to engage the mind in non-linear retroductive thought. They don't actually have answers to them, but that is diverging from the topic. To speak of light in itself by itself is absolutely impossible. When we talk about light, we're actually speaking about attribute, the frequency. But light is not something that moves. Light is a field perturbation. There are no particles in light. There's no such thing as a photon. A photon has never been the output of any experiment ever done. Nor is there a wave-particle duality as pertains to the nature of light. Light is a coaxial circuit with longitudinal rarefactions and compressions and transverse electromagnetic, whether linear or circular polarizations that actually define illumination. But the concept that human beings have in their head of light, like, oh, look, there's a light. No. You've never seen light. You've only seen illumination. Nothing emits light. If you think, like, just imagine this is a light bulb, right? Some light bulbs actually look like this. Tungsten filament inside, let's just say it's a long argon tube, like a fluorescent tube. Do you think anything actually emits light? Well, this is a sealed gas light bulb with a little bit of argon pumped inside. Electrical discharge passes through a tungsten carbide coil, and it's emitting light. No, it doesn't. A light bulb doesn't emit light. It sets up a field perturbation. You think a person in the middle of a pond flapping their arms is emitting anything? Do you really think that bullshit? What is a person in the middle of a tiny pond waving his arms emitting? Well, little waves are lapping up on the shore. Is the person emitting anything? No, he's disturbing the waters. He's setting up waves. Waves of what? I love discussing. This is the one thing that always stumps. You show you how stupid scientists are and people in general. They say, oh, there's waves, electromagnetic waves. Waves of what? Well, electromagnetic waves. It was like the Abbott and Costello routine. Who's on first? I don't know. What's on second? I don't know. What is it? Who's on first? I don't know who's on second. And what's on third? Remember that routine? The Abbott and Costello routine? Who's on first? I don't know. What's on second? Scientists and human beings are so damn stupid. Not smart. We think we're smart because we have computers and TV sets and digital shit. Oh, we're so smart. No, you're not. You're not smart at all. You don't understand how the universe works. You just figured out how to manipulate things to create neat shit that entertains us. They say waves. What about the person in the middle of the pond? Well, he's setting up waves. Waves of what? Whoa, water waves. Oh, okay, so the water's moving? Yeah, the water's moving. No, the water doesn't move. The water that's actually being disturbed is moving like pistons. Like if a person starts to flap their arms in the water, this water gets disturbed, and that causes this water next to it to get disturbed. And what happens is the waves don't move. What you have is perturbations that occur like this, but the waves are not actually moving. Now you can say they're moving on the seashore, but that's because of the undercurrent and the actual slope of the decreasing shallowness of the water. But waves don't move. They go up and down. This one causes this to move, and that one causes this to move. So, like pistons in your car. Pistons in your car don't move this way. They move up and down like this, right? So, nothing's moving. Well, sure there is. He's emitting waves. Well, he's not emitting anything. Obviously, his hands and his arms are still attached to his body. So what is the person emitting when they're, causing waves to occur in the water? Waves of what? Well, waves. Waves of what? Oh, it's water. Is the water moving? Yeah, sure, the water's moving. He's setting up what? Water is not moving, not propagating. There's nothing that's propagating other than a disturbance, a perturbation. This one moves, which causes this one to move. Pressure mediation. PM, pressure mediation. Pressure mediation, right? Pressure. Kind of like this mineral water. I let the pressure go and, well, a lot of the gas has escaped out of this bottle already. I love it when people talk about electromagnetic waves. Waves of what? Waves. Waves of what? Waves. Waves of what? Wave is not a thing. A wave is what something does. Light is not a thing. Light is a concept. When we talk about light, we're not actually talking about light. We're talking about illumination. Well, what's the difference? It's a huge difference. Light in itself, of itself, by itself doesn't exist. If I could only define something, only identify it and define it when it is in flux or perturbation is in effect, that does not define or reify the principle itself. I can talk about waves all day long, but waves are not a thing. A wave is what something does. So what the hell is waving in light? Nothing emits light. It's a field perturbation. All of these fantasies of quantum mechanics, general relativity, today is one thing and one thing only. Effing atomism. Materialism. We grew up on this bullshit. Tachyons, protons, photons, neutrons. Everything is energy. If we think that magnetism and dielectricity and gravity are all different things, that is as stupid as thinking water is one thing, steam is another, and ice is another thing. No, human beings are stupidly looking for a unified field theory. Well, we're going to find this shit. How are you going to find it? Math. Math is the answer. Well, math doesn't define anything. Math only counts shit. And you know what you can't count or cannot quantify? A field. Sure we can. We got the Maxwellian field equation. No. That's the reification of change with a vector over a period of time. That is the counting of change. Math has never defined a thing in and of itself. You can't define via math something that has no quantity. This has x weight, x dimensions. Yeah, it has a Cartesian dimension. You know, it has a lot of different attributes. Weight, color, dimension, mass. A field has none of that. Sure, we could define a field. No, you could define a field's effects. There is no such thing as a line of force in a field. Sure there is. You cut the lines of what? We talk about lines of force in creating electricity. Yeah, you cut the lines of force in magnetism. You create power, and we have AC generator. Lines of what? God damn it. Lines of force. Lines of what? Force is not a thing. Force is a concept. Yeah, lines of magnetic force. Okay, let's define magnetism now. What about magnetism? Well, we don't know that shit. We've come up with a neat idea. I call it virtual photon. This is really what they believe in their own books and writings. If you read this shit from these brain-dead, asshat, knuckle-dragging, subhuman mental midgets, they will tell you, how does a magnet work? You know, two magnets over here. You know, one's pushing and the other one's pulling. Virtual photons. Virtual particles. All the same thing. They'll say either virtual photons or virtual particles. And like an 8-year-old child that has a really innocent mind, if they were more articulate, which they're not, an 8-year-old child's not usually that articulate, they would go, what the fuck are you smoking? Virtual particles? That sounds like you've said unicorns are flying out of your butt. Virtual particles? That's your explanation for the most fundamental of fields, magnetism. Yeah. Yeah. Really? You really think science is that evolved? You think science understands how Mother Nature works? They don't. They really don't. Thankfully, there are a few people that do, and by a few, I mean really, 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 really few. There's a lot of secret knowledge out there. Most of it's not so secret. It's your inability to take the time to understand it, and the ability to process it and synthesize it as coherent, holistic, single image of absolute undeniable perfection, so simple it makes a post-it note look complicated by comparison. And there's no greater bliss on this earth that you will not experience, and I don't say that insultingly, than being able to see that. And by see it, I don't mean literally, I mean see it up here. Yes, indeedy. This is one of the secrets of Nikola Tesla. Hope I could shed some light on it for you. But I don't mean light, I mean illumination. By illumination, I don't mean waves, because waves are not things. When I speak of illumination, I speak of a field perturbation, which has no speed. What we call the speed of light is a rate of propagation. Light has no speed. Light does not move. The pistons in your car don't move this way, they go up and down. The waves in a pond of someone flapping their arms don't move. They go, this one causes this one to move, and that one causes that one to move. There is no motion. The speed, as we call speed, is a rate of induction. The maximum allowable propagation of field perturbation allowable with a transverse component. Longitudinal waves, which are not waves since they're longitudinal, they have no transverse components, operate instantaneously because they are longitudinal. They have no spatial footprint, to keep things simple. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos so I can make $1 or $2 donation, tell me to jump off a cliff, whatever makes you happy. Bye. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum.